And Alejandra has a story about a container shift in a social innovation.
Yes, great. And so for this, I'm actually going to need some volunteers. And I'm going to introduce, and bear with me if you are an old pro at sculpting. But I'm going to introduce in just about 30 seconds the way that I'm going to invite you, because there's different ways to do body sculpting, to use bodies in order for us to be able to see what we're talking about, to ground some of these ideas. And so if I could get, let's see, I think I need at least six volunteers. So if you could raise your hand. Awesome, Erica, thank you. Good morning. Come on up. Excellent, come on up. Great, 2 here, 1 here, and right here. How many did I do? I get excited and I start calling people up, and then I lose track of how many I've actually called up. Let's have you. I'm sure we can work together. All right. So what I'm going to ask you all to do, if you could just kind of spread out, because each of you. So the work that the project that I'm here to talk about is with Pangea World Theater, and it's a project called Hyphenations. Naciones Conectadas, if you're the Spanish bit. And each, it's a new program, right, that we're building. And so we have over here our central committee, which is, we gathered a group of first-generation Latino immigrants. Even though it's about immigration as a whole, we started with, particularly, as I consider myself Latina, Pangea World Theater is right in the middle of Lake Street, so we got a lot of Latinos going on. So we started with the Latino community, and so we created a Comité Central, or a central committee. And so for this, the spirit of the Comité Central has been very much about, well, actually I'm going to come back to that. Let me just introduce the containers. So we have our Comité Central, we have our planning committee, which includes the directors, the organizers, and some community conversations. And so we've taken that wisdom and made it into a committee. We also have a group of really exciting mentors. We have 5 mentors that are coming in and looking at how do we communicate, how do we document our work, how do we talk about it. So we've got our, did I call you mentors? Yeah. Okay, great. We've got our interns. Now our interns are growing and are learning, and they're bringing all these new ideas, and they're also connected to the mentors because we want to connect them into relationship. We want them to be able to know professionals in the field so that they can also influence the larger spectrum. We've got, let's see, I've got my Comité Central. We've got our RCC, a Resource and Consulting Committee, who have a group of allies around who are looking at, just helping us out. They can't come to all the meetings, but they want to help us out. Then we have our Theater Institute. So we have first-generation Latino immigrants who maybe, some of them have been coming from the Comité Central, and some of them have come from the community, who are stepping up and saying, yeah, I want to be an actor. I want to be able to tell my own story. And so that's what's going on over here. And then we've got Paso Doble, which is a language and culture exchange program, because we're looking really, we cannot work within one community without talking about allyship. How is it that we grow? And so people gather together, Spanish speakers, English speakers, and they share and they bond. And so one of the things I'm going to ask all of the, thank you so much. That's awesome. Sorry, I got a high kick in the corner, which is what I asked for my signal to wrap it up. So sculpting, so I introduced my containers first. Yeah.
Can we then go to differences directly?
Directly?
Yes.
Let's go with flow. Yeah.
Excellently, because they're all here.
Great.
So you see the containers and how they're all there, and you can see how some of them have been created and some of them are permanent. The second thing about the pattern are the differences, right? Now we've got 2 different kinds of differences here. We have the mentors, and they're all different kinds of differences within, right? Some this kind, some that kind. We also have differences among the containers, and those give the patterns. So now Alejandra's going to tell you a little bit about the differences that are there.
Yes, I am, and I'm also going to show. So I don't know if anybody saw, but what I did is I stood in front of my friend here, Erica, to show us a little bit of the quality of the mentors and the difference that makes a difference for this. And there's a little bit of, so I'm going to mirror. I'm going to show her with my body what I want her to do and to hold. Okay, so this is a tool that you can use in your own groups. There are other ways to sculpt where you can actually touch somebody, where we can do a little power feel and kind of go around your body. Because we don't have that opportunity to build that rapport, and we want to make sure and respect people's intimate space, I'm going to ask you to mirror. So I want you to stand in front of your person. You're going to, and so here I'm asking Eric to hold this this place because there's a sense of solidness. There's a professional thing that we're bringing here with the mentors, but there's also this open hand. Yeah, and so we've got our Comité Central, which is just like this really grounded. So I'm gonna ask you to just bend your knees a little bit, yeah. And then there's this kind of and maybe put one hand here. Because there's this understanding, the connection of the power that's coming from the Comité Central and the wisdom that they can only give. And then there's also this, I want to learn, reaching out. And so I'm just going to go real quick and just sculpt. And Glenda, if you want to talk a little bit more about, or maybe I can just name, right? So these are the differences that make a difference. Remind me if you remember. Planning group. This is this. Total surrender. Surrender to whatever might be coming. You are their interns. Your hands like this, yeah. So there's this kind of like, yeah, we're ready for it. But then there's a little bit of a scared look in your face because you're like, I'm not really quite sure. You've given me a lot of freedom. Oh, I don't know really what to do with it. Tell me who you are again. The resourcing committee. Now these folks are just kind of like this. So I want you to just look around like this. Yeah, tell me what to do, Alejandra. Tell me what to do, Comité Central. Okay, and tell me who you are again. The theater group. Now these guys, we're all working with different shapes. I just want you to find a different shape you can hold with your body. So just like this. That's dramatic enough. Awesome. And then remind me who you are. Paso doble. Now paso doble. I want you just to hold your hands. Yeah. So there's this real equality thing that we're opening up space. Each one teach one. We're all in a different learning, taking some risks. Right. We're learning and we're teaching. So here are my amazing sculptures, and I can look around and really see right the texture of all of them. Thank you all so much. You can drop it. Hold on one second, because we're actually going to take it the next step. Go ahead, Linda.
You can see how those differences give two things. They're great blessings because that's how the work gets done. The differences are the differences that allow the work to get done, but what's the problem? They're different. Yeah? And so differences also get in the way. So how many times does your innovation get stuck because there's something in the way, right? Those differences are only useful if they get the third thing, which is exchange, right? So it's the exchanges between and among the differences that let the innovation arise. So would you show them the exchanges that turn this mess into an innovation?
Right. And so first I'm going to just show the mess. So let me have the interns and everybody really but the advisors, the research committee, everybody in the center. Because these guys are kind of showing up to meetings, kind of coming, right? But there's a lot of information. And the research and consulting committee, which here we are kind of brewing ideas, and here we are kind of doing all these things, but then we're looking around at our allies and our resources. We're having a hard time getting in touch with them. And so what we actually did, let me have the mentors. Where are my mentors? Awesome. Okay, so this, what I showed is an advanced version of this container, because the thing is that the mentors came from the research and consulting committee. What we realized was that we were calling this big group of people who weren't able to show up because they were really busy, but were so present on a one-on-one relationship. So what we did is we said, would you like to be a mentor to our communications intern? Come on over, right? And so then all of a sudden, they started talking and influencing the project. Would you like to be our documentation? Awesome. So wonderful, right? And so then this started to happen. And then within these smaller containers that started splintering off, there was some really clear communication and some transformation, because we were actually able to respond to the need, right? We didn't necessarily, we got mad at first. Why aren't you coming to our meetings? We bought the food. You didn't show. There was babysitting and everything. And then, right? But then we decided that it really was about how we looked at it. Thank you all. Is that good?
Thank you. That's good.
Thank you all so much.
Showed how you can think about the containers and the differences in the exchanges to see the pattern that you want to change, and then to think about how you want to shift the container. Let's have meetings and get everybody together. Or let's look at the differences. Oh, they're way off. That's a big difference. How can we bridge that with an exchange? So you see the pattern, the C and the D and the E, and then those are your levers for change. if you want to make a container. Sometimes a project's broken because the container's too big and people are just wandering around not finding each other. Sometimes it's because the container's too small and you're trying to get loose, right? Sometimes the differences are too great and you can't talk to each other. Sometimes there's too much the same and you're stuck. Sometimes the exchanges are too tight. You've been in a project like that and sometimes they're too loose and wandering around. But if you can think about a current situation in terms of the CDE, and then options for action just pop out.